Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 129, the GOAT Statement. Yes, the greatest of all time. Ducon Williams joins this episode of Inside the Walls podcast. I am your host, Jim Meunier, alongside Matt Patton, who is currently away from camera at the moment, so he'll join here in a second. But no further ado, the GOAT himself, Ducon Williams. Ducon, welcome to the new edition of Inside the Walls. Been off there for a couple of weeks, months. I don't know. I lost track. But welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Hey, doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words. Man, I'm excited to actually finally join Inside the Walls podcast. I've been watching and listening to you guys for quite a while. You do a great job. And I hate to make it worse, but thanks for having me.
Make it worse. So what are you calling me? A downgrade? How? I just called you the GOAT, and you can make it worse.
I know I can't compete with Meunier.
No. Some people call me the Adam Schefter, but I'm a passionate person in this industry. I love this sport. That's off season, especially has been full of a lot of open promises from a lot of individuals. But I know one thing: the 8 organizations here in the National Arena League are solidified. Arenas are booked, fields are bought, everything's good, and the season is on the way. Schedule's made, everything's prepared. There's no rumors, there's no questions. The National Arena League is on course to kick off in 2024 with 8 franchises, 3 of them which have had championship history, the longest running rivalry in the industry. You got a new team making a rebound in Oklahoma. Got North Texas Bulls, who've hopped around a couple of leagues, won a couple of championships. Got the expansion franchise and Coach Shaw over there in Colorado. But out of the 8 franchises, you are very well connected with most of them because of Arena Football Statement. Is it the rivalry of Sioux City and Omaha, or is it can this be the year that Carolina finally gets over the top to win the championship in the NAL? Or are you expecting something like a Topeka come out of nowhere, or possibly an Idaho who has had some great history of winning championships in the past? What's more intriguing to you in the 2024 season of this iteration of the National Arena League?
Well, I think the biggest thing I'm looking at is that 4 of the teams that are in the National Arena League this year, the last time they had a full season, they were in championship games. And last season, of course, you had the Beef going undefeated, insanely good team. They seemed to walk through everybody but Sioux City, where they hung on to a 3-point win. But every other game that they won was by double digits. And then we've got the Idaho Horsemen. They've won a couple championships in the American West Football Conference. Welcome to the party, Idaho Horsemen and Chris Reynolds. Very excited for the Horsemen to join the National Arena League. It's something that I've always thought that they should be part of, so that's very cool. You got the North Texas Bulls, who last time they had a full season did win a championship. We went on the road against a 10-0 Charlotte Thunder team that just walked through everybody they played, and had a double-digit win over the Charlotte Thunder. Shocked everybody. So, welcome to the party there. Out of all these teams that I'm most surprised and probably expect the biggest things from, I'll be honest, is the North Texas Bulls. And the reason I say that is because Victor Mann is a very viable coach. He won a CIF Champions Bowl with the Texas Revolution, and he had a really good roster built with the Cedar Rapids River Kings of the IFL. They played one game before COVID shut down the whole thing, but he had a great roster going there, and he had returned to North Texas. There was a league called the AFA that they were part of for a little while. My understanding is the owner at the time, he had lost his mother, and there was some things that he was trying to work out. So the team just kind of pulled away for a little bit, but they've been rebuilding over the last couple off seasons. And my understanding is Victor Mann's coming back. that he has a great coaching staff behind him, that Robert Kent, an NAL legend, is part of the team.
The
And
guy's the guy's been playing as long as the existence of the sport. It seems like he's been.
he's ageless. He's ageless,
Yeah.
and he's been a great competitor in the National Arena League. I don't think I think you could ask the Cobras. How do you feel about this guy? And they've had trouble with him at times. So the North Texas Bulls, I expect to make some waves. I really do, and I've got to say, welcome to the party because it's exciting.
Well, there is a former team in the NAL who went to the IFL and the San Antonio Gunslingers. Them in North Texas had a little. They have a little back and forth. They don't play each other consistently, but you could tell there's a little bickering between the two sides. Me and you are very well connected with a lot of people in the San Antonio. You're more connected with people in North Texas, but you can hear the back and forth. And the Robert Kent move to North Texas really sparked that back and forth again. And it's just it's friendly stuff. It's nothing no
Yeah,
hatred. It's not Texas A&M versus Texas and Oklahoma versus Texas. It's not like that. But in the state of Texas, football is everything, and rivalries are born on the simplest little things that don't even matter what's happening on the field. It can be a player signing or a coach going somewhere else. But speaking of that area, a new team, excuse me, the Oklahoma Flying Aces joined the NAL from Eden, Oklahoma, which is about an hour and a half northwest of Oklahoma City. They've had a little bit of adventure. They played a season in the CIF, took a hiatus. Now they're back, and now they're back in the NAL with. I think there's really good relationships between them and the
yeah,
ownerships of both Sioux City and Omaha. What's the story about Oklahoma? Because I know there's a lot of listeners to our program that look at Oklahoma Flying Aces and go, or Oklahoma City, Tulsa, where are they from? What's their
yeah.
story? You know more about them than I do.
Sure, yeah. Richard Davis, who's had a lot of experience in this industry. My understanding is he's the owner and may actually take up the role of head coach. I don't think there's been an announcement, and I don't know what the plan is as far as the coaching staff goes. But Richard Davis and Ricky Burtz from Omaha have had a really good working relationship for quite a few years. And if you remember, Topeka had a little bit of a tumultuous season in the news and some things going on there that the CIF had sent Richard Davis as a representative to go investigate. He helped to stabilize the team, took over some of the coaching duties and some of the GM duties. And at the end of the season, he gave the Topeka Tropics their first win of their franchise after 20 tries. So they're 1-19 as a franchise, but you can thank Richard Davis for getting them that first win. Now, he has a good relationship with the Topeka owners because of that as well. So
Mhm.
I think that the Oklahoma Flying Aces are going to fit in really well. They did have one season with the CIF. They were going to play a second season, but insurance premiums were through the roof in Oklahoma, and so the Dodge City law had taken over the schedule for Oklahoma that year. It looks as if some of the insurance premiums have come down. That's my best guess as to why they're playing in Oklahoma once again. But it's something that I think that Rich Davis has always had on his radar to try to bring the team back, and I'm excited for it. I think the people in Enid are very excited for it as well. There's been good response.
Well, speaking of that, about the insurance premiums, that's everywhere, and it's
Yeah,
people. I don't know. There's a lot of fans out there. Oh, I want a team in this city, or I want a team here. Got to realize workers' comp is not a joke in some of these states. Workers' comp takes down teams by
yeah.
themselves. Workers'
By
comp,
them. Yep.
and it's been pretty recent since we've seen workers' comp take out teams. So I understand when it said insurance purposes, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You just can't throw a logo on the screen that said team here. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that has to be negotiated with city council, local state governments, workers' comp, because that stuff ain't no joke. I'm like, that's why when we see a lot of these things happen in the off season, we go, oh, that sounds great. This ain't gonna happen because we know what's behind the door and we know who that beast is. But I remember watching one game of Oklahoma City a couple years ago. I think they played, I want to say, Omaha, and this is when I was starting to get into covering, CIF, and I was getting introduced to that realm of things. I still was watching the NL at that time, and I remember watching the game and go, "This is a little scrappy team. Where are they from?" And I always thought they were Oklahoma City, and then I found that they're not. They're from Eden. I'm like, where is this at? I thought, okay, so I know it's not in Oklahoma, but where the heck is that? And did some more research and start looking. I'm like, oh, it's a good sized town. Didn't realize that there was a football town, but hey, Oklahoma's just like Texas. They love their football like anything else. Um, Speaking of more football, we had a new team join, brand new franchise over in Fort Collins, home of Colorado State University, the Colorado Spartans. I think it's the Budweiser Arena. I think that's the name of the arena there in Fort Collins. Um, Coach Shaw, former San Antonio Gunslingers coach, he was a coach a year, 2 years ago. Got the Gunslingers to the playoffs last year in the National Arean League. He is back in Colorado. Seems like he is now the man in charge. He takes complete control of the organization in Colorado. I can speak on Coach Shaw's, but not on his behalf, but covering him the last 2 years. And to the fans who may be listening from Colorado, you want to talk about a guy who's most likely going to get you guys in the playoffs no matter what because of his coaching style. I do know one thing: he's going to find some diamonds in the roughs, some studs. Like there's a couple of guys that was on that San Antonio team, never even heard of him. Bigembe Kearney, Hitstick Kearney. He went to San Antonio and he became an asset. Edwards was another guy for the San Antonio Gunslingers that was a guy he just found. I expect that in Colorado, but there are other iterations of other teams that have happened in that area in Colorado. What's the atmosphere in that city for indoor/arena football? And do you think the people of Fort Collins, Colorado State, that's a college atmosphere, will, not fall in love, but will they gravitate towards a Spartan type of team or an indoor team? Because I know the history of that city. It's had a couple of teams, and I've seen some years have had great attendance. What's your opinion about Colorado and the Spartans and Fort Collins?
Well, I definitely think that the owner of the Spartans knows what he's doing. I think that he's well aware that there's a passionate fan base there. If you actually look at Colorado State's football fan base for the Rams, the college team there, it's pretty passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not real acquainted with how they've embraced indoor football myself because that's if I remember right, and you can correct me on this, the Colorado Crush were from Denver. Is that correct?
Yes, but I think there was a I think the IFL
Right.
Colorado Crush were in Fort Collins.
And
I
that
might
that
be
may have
wrong.
been.
Yeah.
I have seen plenty of comments online of I wish the Crush would come back or I wish the Colorado Ice would come back. So I know that there are a lot of great fans in Colorado
Mm-hmm.
that are very passionate about arena football, but I don't know if they're located in Fort Collins. I don't know.
Look, we did mention them earlier in the show, but the team up in Idaho, they were one of the, you could say, big free agents on the market. They made it known this early in this offseason that they were looking elsewhere. And everyone thought they were going to this league and that league and this league. But they joined the National Arena League. For our fans in the far East Coast, especially in Carolina, that think this might be an easy, breezy season for them, they have to realize, I'm not taking shots at Carolina fans. I'm going to have to realize that the Sharks are not there anymore, so you might have a chance to win it. But there's two teams in the NAL that have history of winning championships, and that is Idaho and that is Omaha. But for Idaho's sake, quality team. I know they have a solid fan base, and they won their championship last year. I think they beat Oregon in the championship last year, so they know how
Correct.
to win. So for the NAL community, what what do you think the fans of the NAL should expect from the team from, it's not Boise, was it
Nampa.
Norman?
Nampa.
Nampa. That's right, Nampa. Where I get Norman from? What the heck? But what do you think? What does Idaho bring to the NAL from your perspective, Ducon?
Well, I think that what Idaho does, first of all, is brings a national footprint to the NAL. Idaho to Carolina is pretty big distance, and
Hmm.
it's really neat to see something called the National Arena League look national.
Hmm.
So I think that's the first thing that it brings. And if you have paid attention to what Chris Reynolds is doing over there, he has signed quite a bit of players already. I think that between Idaho and Carolina, they've probably signed the most players. And one thing that he's been doing is he's been signing players from the old Oregon High Desert Storm team, from the Tri-City Rush, who won a couple championships in their last league.
Hmm.
And so he's bringing in some of the best talent in the Northwest to play for Idaho, which is interesting because you see Carolina bringing in a lot of the talent from the Southeast, and so it creates kind of a neat flavor. I think some of the matchups I'm most excited to see is actually Idaho and Carolina, because you get a little bit of a different flavor of player and a little
Hmm.
different flavor of coach in that. So they actually visit each other. They have a home and away on their schedule. And so I think it's actually going to be exciting for the fans in Nampa to see the Carolina Cobras. I mean, and no disrespect to the Cobras, they've been to the most championship games in the National Arena League. They've been to 4 of them, so they're always in it.
Hmm. Well, and I expect them to be in it because Carolina does have a squad. They have Adam Smith returning. They have James Summers returning. They brought back most of their team from last year. Not all of them, but most of the players. Um, but for Idaho, for me, looking at what Idaho's social media game, I see that they're bringing back a lot of guys from those other organizations and bringing a lot of their original guys back. It seems like it's that narrative, like, oh, we all played in this other league, so you don't think we're good enough to play in your league. Type of, they're all joining forces in Idaho to make that push. One thing I think Idaho, in my opinion, has one of the coolest logos in the industry. That
Yeah.
the horse logo, in my opinion, is pretty cool. It gives the XFL type of vibe. How the it like has the X type of logo in the middle.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool looking. Um, but one of the things I like about the indoor game, no matter what league it is you have these small communities, the small cities going up against big markets. Everyone knows who the Carolina Cobras are in the NAL. It's a bigger name in the industry itself. And you have this team from Idaho. You're going to see them very early. Matter of fact, let me pop it up here on the easy technology. I think it's like week 1 they play each other, if
Week
I'm
one.
correct.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
Carolina had it there, if I remember right.
Yeah, week 1 they're at Idaho, so we'll get that matchup right off the bat in the National Arean League, and then they are home against Idaho. Uh, I don't have a home against Idaho. I may have got that wrong, but I think I did.
Um, I could have
No,
been wrong myself.
nope, nope.
I thought that.
Yeah, yeah. They're home against Carolina week 3. So you're right.
Gotcha.
See, that was
Gotcha.
my bad. My bad. That was me not being prepared. You said home and
No
away. I was
worries.
like, I knew it. I knew something was there, but there, there's one other matchup I want to talk about.
Good.
It is possibly it is possibly because it is factual. It's the longest reigning rivalry in the industry. No other Jacksonville, Carolina is not as long. Jacksonville, Orlando is not as long. Arizona, San Jose is not as long. But Omaha and Sioux City have been going at each other for 25 years.
I-29 rivalry. It's iconic.
It's I say it like this. It is what the war on I-4 was in the
Yes.
heyday. And
Yes.
now you still have it, but you have two ownership groups in Sioux City and in Omaha that actually like each other. They don't
Yeah.
they like each other for 364 days of the year. Day 365 is when they play each other, or day three. Well, they play twice, so there'll be the 2 days that they play each other. They don't like each other, but they're good ownership groups that like each other. You you've covered the CIF for forever, as long as I've known you. speak on this rivalry. What does this rivalry mean to the National Arena League and keeping this rivalry together? Because we've seen some rivalries break up over in this industry. We have seen two of them end this offseason with Jacksonville switching leagues this year.
Oh, sure, sure. I think again, the word I would use is iconic. The Sioux City Omaha relationship and the matchups that they have, the rivalry that's there, is what arena football is all about. Not just because of the on-field play, but because of the fan bases. It's a 2-hour drive, and you will see tons of Sioux City fans come to Omaha. They'll be super loud, and Sioux City hates it when Omaha fans come because they bring their cowbells, and they don't like the cowbells. I think that's kind of the signature thing for Omaha fans is to ring the cowbell. If you talk to Irv Strobing, the head coach of Sioux City, who's been there as a player and a coach for pretty much as long as they've existed, he will tell you how much he hates the cowbell. Is that Matt ringing the cowbell?
That's Matt ringing the cowbell. So yeah.
I tell you what, Irv is over there just wishing he could wring your neck for ringing that cowbell. No, it is a great one. I think that because Carolina fans, Carolina's always been part of the National Arena League. When they see this Omaha Sioux City matchup, I think they're going to go, "Wow, that's pretty cool." I'm glad we have these guys on board.
Your mic's muted, Matt.
So for me, the Sioux City rivalry is just like it's just turned up to 11. I mean, there's no better feeling than going into Sioux City and walking out with a victory, because as a fan of the Beef, I've been a hardcore fan, I would say, since about 2009 or so. We didn't really get a lot of wins in Sioux City during that time, and so for me, especially in 2018, going up there and beating them on their own home field to go to the championship game that year, and then again beating them again. Just it's a lot of fun. That rivalry is just crazy because like the fan base itself is so awesome here in Omaha. It's so great, and it's one of those things where it's one of those indescribable rivalries, almost almost akin to any college rivalry. You know what I mean? Like Florida State and Florida, Florida State, Miami, that kind of thing. Here for me, it's Iowa State, Iowa, Nebraska, that kind of thing. It's similar on all aspects. And so, I'm glad that when Omaha made the decision to move, that they made the choice to take Sioux City with them, because it sounds like it was kind of a joint effort from what I've heard. So,
of course, one thing about rivalries, it's nice to have them, and it builds the like. There's one rivalry that I'm looking forward to be renewed with my team, and it's with the team out west from 2011. They're still bitter about that game, so I'm looking forward to renewing that with the Rattlers out there in Arizona. But one thing when this off season, when I heard about Omaha coming to the NAL, I was like, man, I love watching Sioux City versus Omaha. Last year's game in Sioux City, it probably was one of the most exciting games because Sioux City thought they had the game in the bag. They took the lead, and Omaha comes right back and wins. And then you get the matchup in Omaha later in the year. You're like, okay, now it's back and forth. And a lot of Sioux City fans will point at that Omaha game earlier, midway through the year, saying that was the game that flipped their season because at one point they were undefeated last year. And then that game turned everything, and they started going downhill. And I think they had injury issues. We've seen a lot of teams start off hot, and injury issues hit players, and the teams start stumbling. But one thing I want to say about the NAL, especially Matt making his debut on Inside the Walls. Sorry about all the confusion there, ladies and gentlemen. Matt's a family man. He has kids, and kids come first, of course. Family first. Matt, this is your first year going to cover NAL with here on Inside the Walls. 8 teams. But don't be biased towards your beef, because we already know you're wearing the beef hat. You got the beef background. You got the beef logo. We already know. And the beef shirt. See, you're already biased. How dare you be biased towards your team? What are the key matchups you're looking forward to in the Omaha schedule for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be cliche and say all of them because that is the cliche thing, even though Coach Tatum did say that the other day on the Prime Cuts podcast. Forgive my son in the background there. I honestly am really looking forward to March 23rd. Traveling to Greensboro to take on the Carolina Cobras. If I'm being honest, as a fan of the Beef, as long as I've been, never expected in a million years that these two teams would be in the same league, playing each other, and let alone opening the regular season against each other. So, if there's any way that I can figure out a way to get on that airplane or bus or whatever it is, I hope it's an airplane because that's a long bus ride. But if there's any way that I can. There's any way that I can make it there. I want to try to make it there just because Carolina's got a great fan base out there. I watched the NAL championship game a little bit last season. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch enough of it to know, that the fan base is good there. And I've watched some of their games in the past too. I'm looking forward to the Sioux City games, obviously. Luckily for us, they're not back to back, but they're about a month apart. We play the first game on April 20th, and then we play the next game on May 18th. So it's almost exactly a month apart, which is pretty cool. But, the game against Colorado is going to be fun. That's a unique road trip. Idaho, who knows what they're going to have. So it's for me, it's a whole new set of teams that I've never seen before with the exception of a couple. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what this season holds for the league.
There's one more question that I'll ask you, and then you go cater to your kids. More important, don't deal with me and Ducon. But Omaha did sign probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the industry. The guy carried your team last year to an undefeated season. He single-handedly beat the Liberty by himself last year in the championship game. Talk about your boy.
Yeah, and as weird as it is for me as an Iowa fan, that's my quarterback. Tommy Armstrong, what can I say about the guy? Here's the thing for me, right? I'm one of those guys who, I want my guys to be like my guys, right? And Tommy Armstrong, first time I met him, I had never met him from Eve the first time I met him. And, you kind of think, you hear stories and you're like, oh, maybe this guy's got an ego. Maybe he thinks he's better. He doesn't, not one bit. So that's one thing that I love about Tommy Armstrong. He's very humble. I've watched him stand on the field for extra time after games and sign autographs and take pictures because obviously we're in Omaha, Nebraska. We're in the heart of Husker country. Everybody wants to meet the quarterback. Everybody wants to take a picture with Tommy Armstrong. The dude is genuine, but the thing of it is that a lot of people forgot was how good he was in the indoor game. He played for the Danger for all those years or whatever. He played quite a bit there with Coach Tatum. And then he went on to Sioux Falls and he didn't get to play as much as he wanted to in Sioux Falls. But when we signed Tommy Armstrong last year, I don't think anybody expected him to be as good as he was, just to be honest, because he hadn't played in a couple seasons, right? I think Ducon probably will tell you oh yeah, it's Tommy Armstrong. Of course he's going to be good, right? But the first couple of games even, he didn't necessarily have the type of games we expected, but by game 3, it was like clockwork. That offense was moving. Not that they weren't moving the first 2 games, but that third game, it was just like a switch was flipped and that team was on. And I'm excited to see him play again this season for the Orange and Black. And then, I'm really excited because they just announced, I believe today, that they are re-signing Junebug, who's been a long-time Omaha Beef player as well, number 50 on the offensive line, one of my all-time favorite people and all-time favorite players. So shout out to Junebug if you're seeing this. Love you,
Is it the reason why he's named Junebug is because his whole name is pretty difficult to pronounce?
How do you pronounce it?
It's actually a nickname that he got in college. I don't know if that's why he got the nickname, but it has something to do with he got that nickname in college. So because
if you look at how Omaha presented it, it shows his entire name and it says in quotation marks Junebug. And I'm like, who? Oh, Junebug. Okay, that's good. And I know who that is. But so how do you pronounce his name?
Yeah, no, I'm not even trying. So I know his wife Megan too, and the funny thing of it is that Megan even calls him Junebug.
Oh, oh, she's tired of it too. She goes, Jim Bug.
I mean, I'm sure at home she called, but like when she's on the field or she's hanging out with on the field or whatever, it's Junebug, man, and it's just he's a great person. His wife is an amazing person. His family comes to the game, like they're just awesome. Like those are the kind of guys that I love to see on our team, And I don't know that we've really had many character issues on the Beef that I'm aware of in the last several years, and so it makes it even more heartfelt for me. Like a guy like last year, I know he's not on the Beef anymore, but a guy like Aaron Jackson, who just like my son, for some reason, gravitated to Aaron Jackson. And then just like, hey, can I go out on the field with you? And Aaron was like, of course. Tommy Armstrong, same thing. Like my son got to come out on entrances with Tommy Armstrong. My son thinks Tommy Armstrong is the man. Like it's crazy because we're Iowa fans, but like in the spring, he's like, Tommy Armstrong's the, like, he's in the living room, like with his football dropping back. Tommy Armstrong drops back and he throws it deep and it's a touchdown for the Omaha Beef. Like my son just loves it. So like, that's why I love this team so much. Like just seeing these guys and, some of the new guys, I've heard a lot of stories about some of these new guys that were coming in. I don't know the names officially yet, but I've heard a lot of good stories. So yeah, I'm excited.
One thing I can compare Armstrong to from last year from other player is Dalton Snead. Similar start. Both guys struggled in the first couple of weeks. Then week 3, week 4, something clicked, and they became the elite quarterbacks in their leagues. Same as Sam Castronova. Struggled early and with Albany, went to Jacksonville, took him about a week, and he was off to the races as well. Strange how quarterbacks in the indoor game, the first 3 or 4 weeks, people are like, oh, he's not good. Then all of a sudden something clicks and they become elite in the style game they played. But you were talking about good character guys. There are a lot of good character guys that are getting signed in the NAL so far. Sioux City is bringing back a lot of guys from last year, so very familiar between those two teams. The battles between you two guys are going to be intense because familiarity with the two organizations. Carolina is bringing back a whole bunch of guys returning. Probably the best kicker. I may offend people in all the industry. He's probably the second best kicker in the game behind Marco Roscoe, and that's Ryan Debo Weber from Carolina. Ducon knows the reason why. The guy set the deuce record in the NAL last year. He kicks it. It's a deuce. It's either going to hit off the net or it's going to be a deuce. The guy's accurate. Another guy that all Omaha fans need to get your name familiar with is Adam Smith. I don't understand how that guy's not in the XFL, USFL, or even an NFL practice squad. He is just a dog. James Summers is another individual. Guy Myers is the brother of DJ Myers. DJ Myers set a couple of records in the NAL a couple years ago. He's the quarterback in Carolina. Carolina's going to be a force, and I can't wait to break down more of these games as more of these players get signed, because there are other teams in this league that are not making a lot. Like Topeka's making small signings, but not a signing yet. You go, man, that looks like a familiar name. Same over in Colorado still, but we already know what Robert Kent. Idaho's bringing basically the Northwest together in one city. So they're going to be competing. And, of course, Sioux City is doing the same as you guys, bringing a lot of familiarity. But, Matt, go deal with your family. Get off the show.
I will. All right. Hey, have a great show. Thanks for having me tonight. I'll see you guys later.
Appreciate one thing. You're a family man itself. Been here for 35 minutes. Not going to do a long episode. Next week is Thanksgiving week, ladies and gentlemen. There might be a show, might not be a show. But I want to tell everyone here that Ducon Williams will be a recurring guest a lot on this show from here on out. Not every single week, just pop-ups. Because trust me, how this industry is, you need the two most reliable sources. That guy knows a lot. I know a lot, and sometimes we bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes our connections are so good that they're hearing the same thing. But he'll join us for multiple shows throughout the season. Again, after Thanksgiving, we'll start getting back into team previews. We will do a double feature with Omaha and Sioux City after Thanksgiving week. So, Ducon, read a football statement. Tell everybody how they follow you or where to follow you, and when you are about to drop a new video, because People love when you drop videos, when you have time to drop videos.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look for Arena Football Statement on Facebook, you can follow me there, or you can follow me at ZO Productions on YouTube for any time a video drops. I don't know, Jim, when if you want to see my latest video, you can watch the San Antonio Gunslingers branded show with head coach Tom Manas. I sent him a tryout video. I'm going to win the job over Sam Castronova, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, that's gonna be epic. That's gonna be epic. Of course, if you missed the live stream of Brandon, make sure to follow Inside the Walls Network because there will be some more content over there as well, coming that way. More shows coming in the future. Some great ideas in the background being pushed forward. So I can't wait to announce a couple of new additions to the thing. But with that, Ducon, I'm Jim Meunier. That's Ducon Williams. This has been episode 129 of Inside the Walls. A little off-season talk. Have a very blessed Thanksgiving. Be with your family. Be with your friends because family is bigger than football. But football is pretty dang big. But family first. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. Do whatever you do. Be safe. Come back in 2 weeks. We'll get back on track for the month of December, breaking out some action of all 8 teams of the NAL for the 2024 season as we get ready for the kickoff in March. That's Ducon Williams. I'm Jim Meunier. This is Inside the Walls. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Peace.